Hey guys, so this is the Cartier Santos Medium. I've owned this watch for about a year now, and I wanted to make this video talking about my ownership experience. I know you can kind of see, you can see my reflection in the polished bezel. It's a little weird, but I'm just gonna go with it. So first, I just want to start with how I arrived at choosing this watch, why I chose it. And the first thing you should know about me is when I first started getting into watches, I think like a lot of us, I kind of went crazy with it at the beginning. And, I got like really into it to the point where, I'll show a camera roll right now. Yeah, so this is just one section of my camera roll. I actually have way more photos and videos than this, but it just gives you an idea of how many different watches I've tried on to get a feel for. And some of these I actually bought, by the way. For example, I bought the Aquaterra, white dial Aquaterra 38. Liked the watch, nothing wrong with it. Good piece, absolutely a good piece. But like I said, I had this watch A.D.D where I would buy a watch, enjoy it for a little while, and then kind of quickly fall out of love with it and move on to the next piece. And that was until I found this watch. This is the video from me trying it on for the first time, and it immediately made a great first impression on me. To the point where I remember my first thought when I put this on live in real time was, I messed up, man. I shouldn't have gotten the Aquaterra. I should have gotten this. I think specifically what stood out to me right away was how well it wears. Because of the thin case and the way the integrated bracelet kind of wraps around, just naturally the shape of it just curves around your wrist and lays on your wrist so well. And so sure enough, I sold my Aquaterra, I got this watch, and I have never looked back. And it's honestly the first piece in my watch collecting journey that I really feel like 100% I nailed this. I'm not gonna sell this watch. I'm not gonna, fall out of love with it. I'm just so happy with this watch. Everything about the design to me just works together so well. The bracelet is unique. It's beautiful. I love that it's brushed. I don't like fully polished. I don't like polished bracelets at all, even like polished center links. I think that's why I didn't love the Aquaterra. But yeah, I love how distinct the bracelet is too, how unique it is. There's, it doesn't just look like another watch. I mean, it really, when you see it, it stands out right away. I love how smoothly the bracelet integrates into the lugs. It drapes on the wrist so nicely. There's just something about this design that Cartier really nailed the wearability. And it makes sense because they're a jewelry brand, right? Cartier is a watchmaker, a storied watchmaker too, of course. Their history is really impressive. But what I'm trying to say is I think their background as both a jewelry brand and a watchmaker means they really understand that. I know this sounds so obvious, but they really understand that watches are made to be worn, meaning it's not just about making, a nice looking dial or even a nice looking watch. It's about a nice wearing watch because, again, it's an accessory that's made to be worn, which I know, again, it sounds so obvious, but I've tried on so many watches that look great in the display case, right? And then you put them on and they just don't wear well. And this Cartier absolutely nailed the wearability on this watch. The way, I think I said it already, but the way that the lugs and the bracelet wrap around at the perfect spot, it just, no matter what I do, this watch just always seems to lay so well on my wrist. I don't even have to have the bracelet on perfectly, and it'll just kind of sit there in the middle of my wrist, looking great always. And another reason why this watch really can be a one watch collection is how versatile it is. It's crazy. I mean, you can wear it with sweatpants and a t-shirt, with a suit, and everything in between, and it's just always just going to work somehow. It just fits every setting, every outfit you can think of, and is always going to look good. And for me, it has just the right amount of flash. I'm not too flashy, but I think between the polished bezel, just the bezel being polished as opposed to the bracelet, just adds a little bit of, I guess, elegance or flash. And then the blued hands, I just think it's the perfect balance to a design that otherwise is pretty simple, honestly. But it just, again, it's just enough to make it interesting and not boring and not anything too much. It's just perfect. Yeah, so closing thoughts here are just You know, I talked about at the beginning how when I first started collecting watches that I would buy a watch and kind of quickly fall out of love with it and move on to the next one. And the opposite has happened with this watch, where the longer that I've owned it, I've actually appreciated it more and more, and it's just grown on me more. And I just will never sell this watch. I like it too much. It works too well in too many different situations. It's unique with the bracelet and the square shaped case. I didn't even talk about some of the features like the quick change strap system, which honestly I don't use a lot because I just love how this watch looks on bracelet, but it's still really nice to have that option. And then what I like even more is the easy bracelet adjustment system, where all you have to do is I can literally take a fingernail and press this button under here, and the link will pop out. You take it out easily, add a link, remove a link. I use that all the time. It's so nice. And just honestly, I just love this watch, man. That's really all I got.